Hi, Donna Gallant. I'm here in my studio, and today I want to work with grays. And these aren't grays made with black and white, because that's an easy way to go, but these are grays made with color. And there's nothing more exciting than having grays work in color because they have life to them. I knew an artist that's no longer with us, but he could mix grays from almost any colors. And today I'm going to work with watercolors because they're faster and easier for you to maybe follow. And I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Okay, I have a basic palette here with a ton of colors in. I have my reds, oranges, grays, or sort of gray, blues, browns, and yellows. Basically red, yellow, and blue. And there's a few of these other neutrals like this umber and this burnt sienna. Those browns really help bring out neutrals. So I'm going to show you for an example. So if I take burnt umber for an example and just put it here, see, it's quite it's good by itself, but if I mix it with a cobalt blue, so now I'll put them together in my palette. Look at that gray. Isn't that a beautiful gray? Okay, now I just want to make sure I got enough. Now if I take that same umber and mix it with, let's say, a phthalo blue. So there's a phthalo blue, which is quite different, you can see, than the cobalt blue. I'm going to go to such a different gray. Look at that. Now, let's try it again. My umber again. With my ultramarine blue. I love this gray. Look at that. It's almost as gray as you would get if you had gray, like Payne's gray, for example. Here's a Payne's gray. Just want to show you Payne's gray. See how close that is? That is just too wild. Oh. Okay, how to get the dog to be quiet. Okay, so now this is burnt sienna. So if I take burnt sienna now with these blues, we'll start with the cobalt blue. Okay. Mix it together. I'm going to get this browny gray. Okay, burnt sienna. Now with the phthalo blue. Of course, you never need much phthalo blue. It goes a long ways. Phthalo blue is has a very strong staining quality to it. Okay. Now look at that gray. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Now again with the burnt sienna. This time I'm going to use the ultramarine blue. Okay. Mixed with that burnt sienna. Look at that, nice. So they almost become black. So they're very, a very good lesson in learning how to mix colors. But these grays, even beside each other, you can see that how different these grays are. Okay, let's change the colors up a bit. Now, let's go with an orange. This is a Viridian. I'll just leave a little space here. There's a Viridian orange. And I'm going to mix it with my cobalt blue. So, look at this gray. It's almost a purpley gray. Okay. Let's go again with our Viridian orange. And our phthalo blue. Now, the reason why we're getting such beautiful grays is because we're using opposites on the color wheel. Any of the browns are part of the orange family. So that's why it's working so nicely with our color combinations. Now look at this one. Okay. A last Viridian. Orange. Viridian really is orange. Okay, with our ultramarine blue. Okay. Alrighty. It's almost a purple, isn't it? And you'll find if you mix the red and the blues, you're going to get your purples. But things opposite each other on the color wheel are the things that are going to show up. So let's try our red and green, because that will change again our grays. I'm just going to wipe off, get some spots here on my palette so that I have room for mixing. Okay. So if I used, here's a sap green. This is sap green. Okay. Mix it with an alizarin crimson. Now, it won't really make a gray as much as a brown. Okay. Now, let's do our Viridian green. Okay. With our alizarin crimson. Whoops. I meant to paint the alizarin crimson down here. Okay. Okay. This is a little more gray. See? Now what happens if we change, oh, there goes the dog again. What happens if we change the red? So let's do the sap green again. People are working outside, so the dog's gonna run in and out and let me know. You know how dogs are. Report everything. Okay, so let's go over to a rose. Oh no, I mean a cadmium. Let's go over to a cadmium red. So here's the cadmium red. Cadmium red is very much like orange. It's the orangey red. Okay. And this again is going to be a little more brown. The reason it's more brown than, say, the gray ones is because this green has a lot of yellow in it. So it's going to lighten it up. Okay, so I think I will do the Viridian Green with the cadmium orange this way. Okay. Now you're going to find it's much different than the last two. Okay, so there it is. It's really dark, isn't it? Okay, that is so cool how that works. But look at these beautiful grays. Look at these beautiful grays that you can get in browns. And that's the cool thing about opposites on the color wheel. Now, of course, anytime you add Payne's gray to it, you're going to get it dark. Now, what I wanted to do was actually do a violet and a yellow. So let me get another sheet of paper. Okay, now let's try a violet. So I'm going to use a ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson to make my violet. Okay, maybe a little more blue there. Okay, so here's my violet. Now I'm going to add cadmium yellow to it. Okay, now it makes more of a brown, but it still is grayed down. Anytime you add a color to a color, you change the intensity of it, or the saturation, and it becomes a new color, like it is not pure anymore. Okay, let's go back to this violet again, and I'm going to use, again, ultramarine and alizarin crimson. Of course, when you mix different violets, you're going to get a different result too. Okay. Now, this time, I'm going to add Indian yellow. Indian yellow is quite a vibrant yellow. It's a very warm yellow. Okay. So you'll see that it's quite much more like brown. Okay, one more yellow I want to try. Again, I'll do my ultramarine blue and crimson. Okay. A little more blue in that. Okay. Oh. Alrighty. And I'm going to use yellow ochre. Now, yellow ochre has a little bit of white in it. You can see it's almost the same as the what do you call it? The Indian yellow. There. It's really similar to that. Okay, so there's the yellows and the purples. So they were opposite. So we did the reds, the greens, the blues, the oranges. Okay, now, what happens when you mix three colors together? And you'll see that. And I kind of did that when I did the purples here, because I was actually mixing two colors to make the purple. Okay. So this time, if I take my raw umber, okay, and let's say my alizarin crimson, how should I do this? Oops, that's a very, very intense crimson. Mix it in there. Now, let's add our Viridian green to it. you're going to see this gray. Look at that gray. That's a perfect gray. Let's just put this Payne's gray down there again, because it's always nice to see where they sit. Payne's gray is just a wee bit darker, but so nice. Okay. Now, what about, let's take our burnt sienna and I have a cerulean blue. And okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to add Indian yellow to it. Okay. So I end up with another brown, but it's still grayed down. Okay. Now let's do the umber again. Okay. And our sap green. Okay. And our alizarin crimson. Again, another brown gray kind of color. Okay, let's try, if you ever want to make a nice evergreen color, this is the way to go. I'm actually going to use a Viridian green as my starting point. Okay. Ultramarine blue. Oh, too much blue. Okay. And our alizarin crimson. Where's the Viridian green here? Look at that. Isn't that a nice evergreen color? But it is still a gray because it's not pure color. Okay. Let's see. Let's do a yellow. Let's do a cadmium yellow. With a cobalt blue. Of course, you know what we're going to get, right? Green. Now, I'm going to do the cadmium red. So basically red, yellow, and blue. Okay. Look at that. Look how dark. I know it's on the purpley side, but it's very dark. Okay. Now, anytime you start to mix Payne's gray into a color, will change it as well. So here is a umber, nice and dark. Now let's mix it with the Payne's gray. Here's the Payne's gray. And you know we're going to get a really dark color, right? But it's not going to be black. Well, pretty close to black. But you can see it's just slightly lighter than the umber. So there you go. Okay. Any more we need to try? Let's do one more here. Let's try a Viridian green. with a vermilion orange. And ultramarine blue. Look at this color. Look how dark that is. Isn't that gorgeous? So whenever you put a regular color beside a gray color, whatever made that gray color up is going to show leaps and bounds. So let me just give you an example here real quick. I'll just take this last gray that I made and I'll paint it in here. Okay, so let's put a pure color right next to it. Let's put a yellow next to it. Look how that looks. You can really see the purple start coming out in there. Let's try it again with another color. Another pure color. So let's put another color like a blue next to it. A different blue than what I used to mix it. So maybe let's do this cerulean blue. It's still, now these are the same color, but look how different they are beside each of the new solid colors or the pure colors. See, that's the cool thing about gray. And once you learn to master this, I'll tell you, your shadowing and everything else is going to be so much easier. I hope you enjoyed that. So you try it yourself and let me know in the comments how it worked out for you. Thanks.